everybody. Welcome to the Tackling Basketball Podcast. My name is Evan.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Micah.
Thank you so much for tuning in. Got a busy agenda for you today, so we're going to hop right into it. Of course, starting out with Toast and Roast. And Micah, we'll start things out with you.
All right. I'm going to be toasting a section of NBA All-Star Weekend, specifically the matchup of Steph Curry versus Sabrina Ionescu in their three-point contest.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a blast. You got the greatest shooter of all time and Steph Curry. Just no. And then Sabrina, who set the record for both NBA and WNBA in the WNBA All-Star competition last year. I think this is going to be a ton of fun, is going to get a lot of viewerships. And honestly, as long as Sabrina doesn't do really bad, should be great for the WNBA as well.
Yeah.
Get some eyes on that, especially going into a year where Caitlin Clark should be joining as well, who has gotten a lot of notice in her college career. Like, this has a chance to be really good for the WNBA, which could be really exciting. Plus, this should just be fun. Like, both of them look like they're really excited just to have a good time and compete.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a really exciting event, and I'm hoping that it's super successful, hoping that it helps the WNBA get more notice, and I'm also hoping that it inspires like more future collaborative events within the All-Star game. Like maybe we see even a co-ed 3-on-3 game at some point in the weekend going forward, because that would just be awesome.
That would be really fun. But yeah, ahead of that, I do appreciate that Adam Silver is trying to tweak up some things in NBA All-Star Weekend, notably for the actual game. We're reverting back to just East and West, 4 regular quarters, no Elam ending, which we'll see. I thought the Elam ending was pretty fun, but obviously the games haven't been great, so maybe it needs a change.
Yeah.
But also, at least before Embiid and Julius Randle were out, the game the West is still better, but it looks like it would be kind of fun. It's going to be such a mess. It's going to be such a blowout. Like, you got Karl Anthony Towns, who's arguably the worst in the West, going up against Scotty Barnes. Like, that level of disparity is pretty big, and it's throughout the entire thing. But we do actually have an all-star in the dunk contest, though. So that should be fun with Jaylen Brown. Even though he's one of the less exciting dunk contest prospects that could be an all-star.
But an all-star nonetheless.
Tyrese Maxey has also said that he's strongly considering participating. So it's cool to see like some big names actually getting back to the dunk contest, because like the last 3 or 4 seasons it's been you've looked at the list and you've been like, who?
Yeah, one guy who is not even in the NBA is going to compete.
And he was the best,
and he was sadly the best.
But
all in all, I think this should be a good All-Star Weekend coming up. Sunday the 18th is the official game, so event starting Friday or Saturday. Should be a good time.
Not to extend this toast by too much, but have you guys seen the LED court that they're rolling out for this as well?
I did. Yeah, could be fun.
We'll
see. Don't have high hopes for it.
I have high hopes for what it will do for the skills competition specifically.
Yes,
because I think that offers a lot of added flexibility to how they run that challenge. But outside of that, it'll just be different graphics that they could have projected into the broadcast, and I'm not sure I would have enjoyed them projecting it into the broadcast.
Yeah.
We'll see.
all right, Jonathan, over to you with your not so toast.
Yeah, I really wanted to roast a lot of things this week. So many things. I added two. I'm doing 2 roasts. I also really wanted to roast the Bucks and Doc Rivers. I also really wanted to roast. Not gonna lie, I wanted to roast who Evan is about to toast, but that's for a very particular reason. And I also really wanted to roast the 76ers for how they've handled Embiid's injury situation recently and the game in Denver. But For my two that I actually chose, the first one is the Pro Bowl, and it has been it had a huge viewership tank this year, with only like 5.8 million viewers, which is the lowest it has been in the 2000s. Like we had in the year 2000, there were 13.2 million viewers. We beat that mark in 2011 with 13.4, and now we are less than half of that amount at like 5.8. Steady decline over the last few years, despite the fact that we are trying to introduce things that are a little bit more entertaining, like the dodgeball challenges and the like the flag football. Just embrace the fact that no real football is played at the Pro Bowl anyway, so you might as well make it flag football and maybe they'll try a little bit harder. But then you add that to the fact that like the starting quarterbacks that partially hurt by like Brock Purdy being a last minute out for it, but you have Tua Tagovailoa, you have CJ Stroud, and you have Jalen Hurts as three pretty respectable guys to be quarterbacking in the Pro Bowl. But then the next three up were Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, and Geno Smith. And we're just seeing this like thing where over and over again, whether it's injury or people just opting out of the game, we are getting like worse content, worse players introduced into the game. And clearly the whole event is suffering for it.
Yeah. Only pro I get to the Pro Bowl this year is like I do kind of like the fact that they've just embraced the fact that it's not really legitimate and it's just guys having fun. Like you watch the clips and it's literally just guys screwing around and having a good time. So I think like if that's what they want the event to be, great. Just don't try and make it be like the all-star of the NFL. Like, don't make the Pro Bowl label be so serious if it's just an absolute joke.
Right. And I don't know what Jonathan is saying about bashing Baker Mayfield. That dude's a pro, and he's in the bowl.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, I mean, I feel like the Pro Bowl suffers from every major sports all-star, whatever you want to call it. It's the best people, but there's nothing truly on the line. Why risk getting injured? Like, why risk anything? Like, obviously, for the fans, every person wants to see a fantastic game. Makes way less sense for football, who have schemes in place, and it doesn't work, obviously. But I don't see any good way to actually get a fun, exciting game.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. I mean, there's a lot of those stats that I read off about like these eras where viewership was much higher. Player health protections were much lower during the Pro Bowl, and we saw some injuries during those. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad trade-off, and I don't know the right solution, but it's an event that most fans just skip. So
yeah, I didn't. I kind of knew it was happening, but I forgot about it in time. Like I just saw a bunch of clips later on Instagram. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that was this weekend. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, the only two All-Star games that I know are actually taken seriously at this point is the MLB All-Star game. But the reason that game is so boring is it's because the best pitchers facing the best hitters. So every game ends like 2-1 because the best it's best pitchers pitching one inning. So they just dominate the hitters. So no scoring happens, but it's taken seriously. And then the MLS All-Star game is serious because it's MLS All-Stars versus a Premier League soccer team or a European top soccer team. Which in that case, it's like, okay, come on, MLS guys, you can do it. And then they get trounced 6-0.
Yeah, it's just MLS trying to get some respect.
All right, for my toast, I'm going with the Washington Commanders, who I'm sure Jonathan probably can find some reason to roast them, but I'm toasting them because they actually made two what I believe is very solid coaching hires this week. I think Dan Quinn hired as the head coach is a very good move for them. He's a very good defensive head coach. I know things went bad against the Packers, but think people don't take into consideration the fact that it's hard to play defense effectively when your offense can't stay on the field. And also, Matt LaFleur is good at scheming. So um, that goes there. But Dan Quinn's very good. They also hired Cliff Kingsbury as their offensive coordinator. And Kingsbury, for his faults, is an offensive genius. And when he was the head coach of the Cardinals, the offense was always very, very good. It was their defense that sucked. So I think Kingsbury as the OC is a great move for them. And if I'm a Commanders fan, I'm pretty happy and excited about this. I think this sets them up well for the future and kind of moving into the next era of Washington football Commanders, who gives a heck, future.
Yeah. Um, my big, yeah. The reason I was going to roast them was mostly for their handling of Eric Bieniemy, who went out on a limb with them, signing as an OC with them when it was a lateral move. A lot of people considered it a lateral negative move from Chiefs offensive coordinator to here because, and the reason he did it was to try and earn a head coaching job. And I honestly think that he did that this year. He elevated this offense so much higher than it has been in the last decade. And he gets rewarded by having his head coach fired out from under him. Then he's announced to be let go. And he is still yet to find a landing spot with any team so far. I'm hoping he gets that head coach job that he probably deserves at this point in his career. But I think that the Commanders, honestly, I think they would have been better off hiring Bieniemy as their head coach than Dan Quinn. I mean, you look at his stint with the Falcons. This is his second chance as head coach. It was 2015 to 2020. The Falcons had a 43 and 42 record in the time, so just barely eking out over 500. Do you remember, perchance, who their offensive coordinator was back then? Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
And their
That was
QB's coach, Matt LaFleur. Their offensive assistant coach,
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel. Their linebackers coach, Jeff Albrecht. Like, these are all amazing coaches, most of them who have like moved on to be really, really good head coaches. So it's not surprising that his team probably overperformed their talent during that time period a couple of times. And I don't know how much of that you can necessarily credit to Dan Quinn. So I think that this has a chance of being a good hire, but I would have probably gone a different direction personally.
time will tell.
Yeah, true.
All right, Micah, time to roast some folks.
Yeah, I'm roasting the head coach of the Eastern All-Star team, Doc Rivers, with a whopping 1 win as a coach this season. Only getting the nod because they're the second best team and not Ime Udoka, but the current Joe Mazzulla was already the head coach last season, and apparently you can't be it twice in a row. So they give it to the head coach of the second best team, which happens to be Doc Rivers.
It's amazing.
Which is absolutely hilarious. But not why I'm roasting him. I'm roasting the Bucks because they have gone 1-3 under Doc Rivers as their head coach. And I get it. New coach, new team. You need a chance to gel, figure things out, get things together. It's not going to be smooth sailing right away. 2 of the losses, though, are to the Jazz and the Blazers.
Yeah.
Those are not teams you should lose to, despite who your head coach is, if you have Giannis and Dame. The one game that they won was against the Mavs without Kyrie, but still, good win. Give it to that. And then a loss to the Nuggets, who no one should take any offense to losing to the Nuggets because they're incredible. But I hope they figure it out. I hope they get together. Just coaching in general has been a mess all season, which has been an absolute shame with what Dame and Giannis are trying to do in their careers right now. they've got a great team, but they need someone to figure it out. And Doc Rivers hasn't really looked like he's been a coach to figure it out since winning with the Celtics in like the early 2000s or 2011,
2008.
2008. Yeah. So,
Yeah, and that was the Celtics team. He had Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce. So
and
it's not
Kendrick
like
Perkins.
it's not like he was struggling for talent on that team.
And Kendrick Perkins.
Kendrick
Yeah.
Perkins.
Yeah, gosh, come on, Evan. How can you forget about Kendrick Perkins?
That's amazing.
I feel like Doc Rivers. Sorry, go for it.
Oh, no, you finish your thought. I was
All right. I feel like Doc Rivers has been the head coach for the biggest teams that I'm left wondering how they didn't win a championship. Clippers with Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, and DeAndre Jordan should have won. Yeah, they were rifled with injuries throughout the whole time. But then Philadelphia with Embiid and Jimmy Butler and Tobias Harris, that is a team that should win. And I feel like he epitomizes just flaming out in the playoffs way too early. And I'm afraid this is going to happen again.
Yeah. Also, fun fact about their game against the Jazz. With 11 minutes left, the Bucks were leading 99-85. And then with 8 minutes left, the Bucks were tied 99-99.
Oh,
And then they lost by 15.
oh.
It was terrible.
Yeah, that's rough.
God. Who do they think they are? The Blazers? All right, Jonathan, over to you for kind of your second roast.
All right. So if I were to ask you two this question, what do you think, like what kind of NBA play, whether it be like outside shot, drives to the basket, things along that category, what kind of play would generate the most free throws?
Layup.
Evan?
Yeah, I would say layup unless you're Damian Lillard and you've perfected jumping into people.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. And fun fact, the team in the league with the highest free throw differential, that's their free throws minus opponents, by a margin of over 100 is the Lakers. And the team with the least drives to the basket in the entire league is also the Lakers.
I'm sorry, are you trying to infer that the league has some bias towards the Lakers?
Oh, no, I would never do that. I mean, we all knew that this would happen, but also there's a degree to which it just becomes obnoxiously blatant.
Yeah.
And we are well past that. Meanwhile, there are teams like the Oklahoma City Thunder who currently lead the league in drives to the basket, and they are a minus 103 differential in free throw attempts, which is, I think, 24th in the league. So you look at the disparity for like these smaller market teams, the Spurs, the Thunder, the Nuggets, shockingly the Warriors, but they shoot mostly outside. Trailblazers as well are down there, where they're just getting way fewer free throws than their opponents, despite like the way that they play should be generating more than that. And there's no better example than the Lakers. The Celtics are also really high up there in free throw differential, and but their drives to the basket justify it slightly more. They're only the fourth fewest in the league.
You would think with 100 extra free throws, Lakers could be better than ninth in the West.
And that's why they are in the parentheses. Because even with the most obnoxiously, terribly favorable whistle in the league, the Lakers are at risk of missing playoffs with like a couple of lauded stars. Did they get 3 All-Stars this year?
No.
No, just the two.
eliminated.
Yeah.
Who else would they have Austin Reeves is their next best player.
He was pretty high in fan vote.
Well, yeah, because it's fan vote, and that is always idiotic. Who was Zaza Pachulia nearly made it that one year?
Uh, I kind of wish that did happen.
No. I
Let's
mean,
put
maybe
him-
if that happened, the fan vote would have gotten nerfed a lot.
That's true.
How fun would it have been able to say NBA All-Star Zaza Pachulia?
Oh man. That would have just further like cemented the idea of like how has Jokic not had an all-star teammate? And genuinely, like this year, I don't disagree with that. I don't think that Jamal has outplayed enough of the guards in the West. I don't think Gordon or MPJ have outplayed enough of the forwards in the East, or in the West either. But it is kind of surprising that that's never happened for like at least two players that have shown tremendous talent within the playoffs and the regular season.
Yeah.
So half toast amongst my two roasts.
All right. I'm going to roast the Las Vegas Raiders. Because somebody else is playing in a Super Bowl game in Vegas before they get to. Just fun to hate on them. And B, as I mentioned earlier, Cliff Kingsbury is now the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. Pay attention to football news. Cliff Kingsbury was supposed to be the offensive coordinator of the Las Vegas Raiders. Like 4 days ago, Adam Schefter said,
Yeah.
Kingsbury to the OC of the Raiders is a done deal. And then 2 days later, nope, Kingsbury to the Commanders. And what happened is Kingsbury wanted a 3-year contract, which is like, if you look across the entire league, is like the standard contract length for a coordinator. Just you give him 3 years. That way, if you do fire him, like, okay, you eat 2 years of it, whatever, but also 3 gives them some security and all that. So 3 years is standard. The Raiders were going to give him 2, and Kingsbury was like, I want 3. And for whatever reason, the Raiders were like, nope, we'll not give you 3 years. And it just looks stupid and like cheap on their part. Like, why wouldn't you just give him a 3rd season? It's just a really bizarre situation. And like I said, I think Kingsbury is going to be a great offensive coordinator. So I think the Raiders should have given him that 3rd year to try and secure him. But whatever, Raiders going to Raider.
I was trying to find his contract details so that I knew like at least how much money did they give him? Was it a good idea? And another miniature roast to throw on top of this for Yahoo Sports. They have a headline saying Cliff Kingsbury to return to Arizona as Commanders offensive coordinator. So I stopped reading the article and trying to find the dollar amount.
Your first mistake was thinking that Yahoo Sports was going to be your best source of information. That's enough of Toast and Roast. Of course, it's the week before the Super Bowl. We got to talk about it. We can't get through this episode without chatting a little bit about the Super Bowl. 49ers versus Chiefs. Oddly enough, the Super Bowl matchup I called prior to the season starting. So
I mean, yeah. It's too much red on this graphic.
I know it's a lot. I should have picked white jerseys for somebody, but by the time I got it all set up, it had taken me too long and I didn't want to change it. So
That's right.
But what I wanted to chat through is what do you guys think the outcome is going to be? What do you think score predictions are, and who's winning the Super Bowl MVP?
Man, I have no idea. I was working on this last night and I was like, I think the Chiefs are going to do it. And then right before we started recording, I was like, nope, I'm going Niners. I feel like the Niners are the better team, but they have struggled so much more these playoffs to significantly worse teams than the Chiefs have. No offense to your Packers, Evan, but that game shouldn't have been close. It shouldn't have been close against the Lions. But also within it is like a tiny bit of optimism of when it gets to the end in that second half, they can lock down and focus and just do what they're supposed to do. So I think it'll be close. My score prediction right now is 27-24, 49ers winning. But I think it'll be a really close, really good game. Again, I could easily see the Chiefs doing this. I have no idea. What do you think, Jonathan?
I think that you're right. It's a really tough game to call, partially from the perspective of like Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce will always be an incredible duo.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be a dangerous matchup for any team playing against them. And then on the flip side, I still think you don't have like a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, but you have like a dynasty caliber roster around him, which is enough that he just doesn't have to make mistakes. And in fact, last week he made plays. He made a lot of plays with his legs and a lot fewer with his arm, but enough to get the job done against the Lions coming from like way far behind. So in the end, I think a lot of it comes down to, does Patrick Mahomes get any help from his other receivers? And what is Kelce able to do against this 49ers defense? And I have some statistics on the 49ers defensively against tight ends this year. They've allowed an average of 8 targets and 5.5 catches for tight ends against them, 50 yards per game, and 4 total touchdowns, which for their division, for their conference, is not bad. There's a lot of really talented tight ends that they're facing constantly. So they do perform above average against them. They've been tested a little bit this year against it. So I think that they will be able to not by any means control Kelce, but to limit his impact and encourage the ball to go elsewhere. And I hope that the ball goes to Kadarius Toney. My ideal outcome for this game is somewhat of a moderately low scoring affair, like a 21-19, where the game is costed by multiple Kadarius Toney mistakes, and the 49ers escape with a victory. And I think that it's also the more likely outcome is I do think that the 49ers will win this one. Just their roster is insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, when I look at the two, I think defensively, I kind of consider these teams about equal. They both have very, very talented defenses up there. So it then comes down to offense, and the 49ers offense is far more dynamic and better than the Chiefs offense is. Like there's not really any argument against that. The Chiefs don't have a CMC. They don't have a Brandon Ayuk. Kittle and Kelce are Kelsey's better, but Kittle is also very, very good. And again, to your point, Jonathan, talking about the Niners controlling tight ends, Travis Kelce's best area is the middle of the field. And the best area that the Niners are on defense is the middle of the field with Fred Warner and the guys they have at linebackers. They take away the middle of the field. That is one of their big things that they do. So I think that it will help control the Chiefs. I probably see this going like 24-17 Niners. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring. But if there's any team that I think could wind up scoring a lot of points, I think it's going to be the Niners, not the Chiefs. So, and then I think if we're picking the Niners to win, I think the obvious Super Bowl MVP is probably Christian McCaffrey. I can 100% see Christian McCaffrey having a rushing and a receiving touchdown. I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to go for like over 100 yards on the ground. So, and people like to hate on Brock Purdy, so I wouldn't be surprised if people are just looking for any excuse to give somebody else an MVP instead of Brock Purdy. So,
yeah, I agree. I think assuming that the 49ers will win, in my opinion, I think C-Mac makes clearly the most obvious choice. Like you said, I have him getting to maybe 3 touchdowns and just kind of locking it up.
Yeah, I mean, CMC as well. The only thing that I think could prevent that would be if like Nick Bosa really showed out
Yeah.
and had a Von Miller-esque game with 2 strip sacks and a touchdown. Um, and then on the flip side, I honestly feel like if the Chiefs win, it's going to be a Kelsey MVP, just because I don't really see the others helping him out that much. And consequently, I sort of see this coinciding with a surprisingly strong rushing attack from the Chiefs. I think in order to sort of start to crack open that middle of the field and sort of draw some of the pressure more towards the line, they're going to have to get their ground game going. So remember these 2 keys that I just spoke of in the betting segment later, because I have something coming for that.
See, I could also see if the Chiefs wind up winning, I could see it being because of their defense. So I could see a guy like Ladarius Sneed or Chris Jones taking it for the Chiefs. I could see it being more of a defensive effort for the Chiefs in that one because let's be real, if the Chiefs defense is able to shut down the Niners, that's what people are going to care about. Like if you're able to hold Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk to not doing a whole lot, those are the kind of guys that are going to get looks. Now on to a different one for us, though, in a sport that we don't really ever talk about. I think I might be the only person that has talked about this sport on the
And we're going to
on the
let
pod.
you lead it off.
Yeah.
And maybe finish it and maybe talk in the middle.
But this is about the World Cup final being held at MetLife Stadium, which is just wild. Like of all the stadiums in the United States to pick to host the World Cup final, MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. Crazy to me. Not SoFi in LA, not Jerry World in Dallas, Texas, New Jersey. And the main thing here is that it's New Jersey, and who the hell wants to go to New Jersey? The amount of jokes I've seen on Twitter of people being like Europeans showing up to MetLife Stadium confused and disgusted, and it's pretty funny. But the other thing is that when it comes to the World Cup, these are literally the most expensive athletes in the world. Like, it's not close. Like, guys like Messi and Ronaldo and these top soccer players absolutely dwarf the contracts of American athletes. Like, what Aaron Rodgers makes is cute compared to what Lionel Messi made in his prime. It doesn't compare. But you look at MetLife Stadium since 2020 at notable injuries in the NFL, and I'll quickly read through it. You have Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Sterling Shepard, Wan'Dale Robinson, Blake Martinez, Shane Lemix, Jabril Peppers, Kyle Fuller, Aaron Rodgers, Al Woods, and Jalen Phillips, all with ACL tears, Achilles tears, or high ankle sprains. All injuries that are, besides the ankle sprain, like devastating to careers, especially for a soccer player where you're literally running like 2 or 3 miles a game. And so it boggles my mind that anyone allowed this decision to be made. Like, I would assume that this means that they're now going to upgrade the turf at MetLife to make it so that it doesn't cause this sort of stuff. But if they do, NFL players are now going to come and be like, oh, so you care about soccer players who never play here more than us? That's interesting.
So I was looking it up because I saw this talking point and I saw this news article, and I have news for you. You called it already, Evan. The part of the agreement for how they got it into MetLife was there will not be turf during FIFA. There will be grass for FIFA, and there will be turf for everything else. And that's ridiculous. Kind of scummy. I don't know. Like if they're already investing in the field, then I don't see a good reason to not like go fully out and like protect your players, protect your assets, protect humans who are trying to like enjoy a sport and make a living. Um, it's ridiculous that it hasn't been swapped yet, and it's even more ridiculous that it might just change because of a FIFA regulation and only as long as that regulation exists on the field.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd.
I mean, you look at there's a few teams throughout the league that have changed from turf to like actual grass in recent years. And then there are other teams who like the Broncos, I think, are a great example of what an ownership should be doing to protect their players. They have invested very heavily into the field. They spent millions and millions and millions of dollars last year in week 17 to like fix the field, to improve it, to make it better for player safety. They did the same thing in the offseason. They did the same thing after week 15 this year. And you're like looking at this, and it's like these are inconsequential games for this team at this point. And that's not the point. The ownership
Yeah.
is trying to protect the health of their players, is trying to protect like the standard of play. And I think that teams should be required by the league to start doing this everywhere. Not necessarily to the extent that the Broncos are, because it's almost overkill, and I'm very grateful for it. But at least get rid of turf and maintain your field.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't Goodell just give a press conference where they're like, "Ah, we're pushing hybrid, like grass and turf,"
Yeah.
and that was it?
Yeah. I mean,
I guess still better, but
still better. And also they're empty words for now. Like I've heard so many commissioners have empty words. Even and I'm about to call out a guy that I really respect as commissioner in so many ways, but Adam Silver did this recently. 2 years ago, he was asked about why are the Denver Nuggets still not on TV? Like, why is Altitude still not have a deal with anybody else? And that's not fully the job of the commissioner, but he said, we are actively working to make this work. We are going to find a way. And they're not on streaming. They're not on television. It has been 3, 4 years, I think now, 4 years that they have not been televised. And these are the 4 best years in franchise history. And like, so I see a promise like this from Goodell that says we're going to shift towards hybrid fields. We're going to try and improve player safety. And I'm like, yeah, but do it.
But this other guy in this other league who's talking about a completely different thing didn't do it. So why would you? No,
Adam Silver is a better commissioner than Goodell.
Yeah, no.
And he doesn't always follow his word. Goodell's words mean nothing to me. They need to act.
No, that's definitely fair.
I think
Go for it.
I was just gonna say, I think the other big thing this whole situation concerns me for is just with US sports in general, specifically soccer, of being able to draw in international competition to come play in the United States. Like, if international players have a tough time here, if this World Cup final goes poorly at MetLife, if people have a bad experience, you could see international teams just straight up saying, screw that, I don't want to go play there. Like, why do I want to go play in a football stadium that is clearly not made for us? And, risk my own health and safety, and which would be a serious shame because soccer is starting to take off in the United States, and a big draw is getting those high profile international teams and players to come play here. So,
And it is just the final. That's it. I mean, I'm sure there'll be other games at MetLife, but it's
So
like spanning the whole Mexico, US, and Canada, right?
yeah, Mexico, US, and Canada. I believe there's also going to be group stage play at MetLife, but then they've solidified that MetLife is hosting the final,
Okay.
which is again just a
wild
decision.
Out of there's got to be places in Mexico better than New Jersey.
Well, in Mexico, and then there's also you have stadiums that are hosting World Cup events. Like I said, you have SoFi, you have Allegiant Stadium in Vegas, you have AT&T in Dallas, you have whatever CenturyLink or whatever it's called now in Seattle. Like stadiums that are much better, have not had injuries, and also already host soccer events on a regular basis. Like they have figured out how to do soccer there. And MetLife, the last soccer game played at MetLife Stadium was a game between Real Madrid and Bayern Munich in 2016. They haven't hosted a soccer event in 7 years, and they're
Yeah.
hosting the World Cup final. By that point, it will be a decade that they have from the last time they hosted a soccer event.
I have a theory as to why they picked MetLife. Money. It is the
It's the
largest
largest,
capacity
yeah.
stadium in the NFL.
Yeah.
They beat the next best by like 1,500 seats, but that's a lot of money when you're talking about and the next best is also Lambeau. They're not going to host it at Lambeau, no offense.
No,
They're going to
what do you mean, no offense? Duh.
this stadium full. And
but
it's
that's
going to be
I mean that's the other bad thing too, is that like soccer in general is a much more like intimate viewing experience. Like even Real Madrid, like there's no seat at the Bernabeu in Madrid that is as far away from the field as you would have at MetLife. Like it's much closer, it's a much smaller stadium. Like the environment is meant to be like close and you can actually see the field rather than wow, what's going on down there, especially with soccer where it's a little tiny ball and like so
yeah, I don't think it's a good reason, but
I think it is the reason.
yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's now go back to a sport that you two actually know and care about. Over to the NBA, and the discussion I wanted to have was around the NBA game requirement. As most NBA fans would know, NBA this offseason instilled a requirement that you have to play at least 65 games in the season out of 82 to be eligible for MVP, first team, all team, whatever for the NBA. And there have been some players and fans coming out recently talking about how stupid of a rule it is. Tyrese Halliburton has come out, and a guy who has had legitimate injuries this year and has come out and said, well, this sucks for me. Like, I think he can only now miss like 2 games. And if he misses any more than that, he's ineligible. And he's been phenomenal this year. Joel Embiid, obviously will no longer be eligible if he misses the rest of the season, though there's a good argument to be made that he shouldn't be eligible because of how much he's missing.
Yeah, he's
But
only played
and then
34 games this season.
but there's fans pissed off as well. So I'm curious to hear from you guys is A, do you still like this rule is in place? And then B, even if you still like the fact that this rule is in place, do you think there's an argument to be made to like drop that requirement a little bit to maybe like 60 games or 58 games or something to give more cushion for players in like Halliburton's situation where it's you get ticky-tack injuries throughout the season, like stuff that just there's not much you can do about to give some more wiggle room there.
Yeah, I like what the rule was intended for people like Kawhi and Paul George and LeBron and AD and people who just sit because they can and saying, no, you can't do that. Because like I feel like the main reason for this rule was to get the star players who make a ton of money to be playing so that people buy the tickets and can see who they want to see. It hurts people like Halliburton who are really young, incredible players who need all NBA awards to get those supermax contracts. Like it is a big deal for these players. A few years ago, there was a bunch of Jaylen Brown didn't make an all NBA team and lost a lot of money because of it.
Yeah.
Or maybe that was Bradley Beal. There's someone who's like an incredible player who deserves to make that much money, but because votes didn't go his way, doesn't get all of this money.
Mm-hmm.
As far as MVP goes, I'm fine with it. I like that limit. I like that standard, especially if you're talking about someone who plays 60 games as opposed to someone playing 75 games. like the amount of talent in this league and how close a lot of the talent is as well is like if you took 80% of what one person who missed a bunch of time to someone else's, like it's not going to be close. When you have people like Embiid and Jokic and Giannis and Jason Tatum and Luca and Shy Guy, all of these people, like if one of them misses a ton of time, you shouldn't get it because you can make cases for all of them. Um, Zach Lowe recently was talking about this and made a case just to be like, at the very least, like you should drop these limits for third team All NBA.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously Embiid not with 43 games, but if he had played more, got up to 55, maybe 60, maybe 55 games, doing what he did while he was playing, he should by all means be an All NBA. To miss out on even third team because you were hurt and missed some time, even though you were averaging like 35 and 13, like, so I don't know what the correct answer is. Like, what's the best way to handle this? But it's definitely hurting people who it wasn't intended to target.
Yeah. I think I fully agree that like the intent was good. They want to see more players play more often. You saw a couple of other rules sort of go into place last year in order to try and meet those same goals. I don't know if any of them like fully achieved their goal. As far as like whether or not it's a good rule, I think you made a lot of good points. I think for MVP, I agree. It is a pretty decent rule because availability is a huge thing. I also think it's a good thing to put in, partially because there's been a lot of complaint throughout the history of the league about what does it actually mean to be valuable? What does it mean to be the most valuable? And to be able to put like sort of hard standards in place for qualification for that, I don't think is a bad thing. It'll add more clarity to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think where it becomes bad is when you have whether it's players or organizations or whatever, sort of valuing that. And I'm not necessarily saying that this is what motivated the 76ers and Embiid to play more than they should have, to not be listed on injury reports when they should have. Like there are a multitude of reasons, be it we are winning a lot of games, we want to keep winning a lot of games, be it individual awards mean a lot to like our team, our fandom, our players. But to sort of set these standards in place also risks a degree of motivating players to push past their limits in a time where it doesn't matter as much. And then as far as like the supermax things are concerned too, I think there's a couple ways to fix that. It could be allow third team to waive this restriction. It could be to maybe add an extra element of eligibility to Supermax, saying if you were an all-star, then you're eligible for Supermax.
Yeah.
That risks throwing off the balance of league salary a little bit, but that's genuinely on you, Mr. GM. If you like, don't think your player's worth a Supermax, then don't pay them a Supermax.
Yeah.
So there are ways to get around it. And I think that the league should probably pursue more ways of guaranteeing like player rights, player money, at the same time as balancing that with player health and safety, at the same time as balancing that with like competitive games that entertain the league, where like I mentioned the 76ers and that whole situation in Denver. For those of you who aren't fully aware of the full impact of that, because Embiid was set to play his first ever game in Denver in a half of a decade, the average ticket price was almost $500. That's roughly the face value for the NBA Finals games, which is a ridiculous amount. And a lot of fans paid a lot of money because Embiid was not on the injury report because the organization mishandled his health and safety. And So a lot of fans wasted a lot of money, were really upset. And the 76ers wound up just getting a slap on the wrist, like $75,000 fine.
Yeah.
So it's how do you balance all of these factors? It's one of the reasons why I think that Adam Silver got such a huge extension. One of the reasons why he is best commissioners out there is because he has to handle so much. And generally, he does it pretty well. But I think that this could use a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, this is the first year of it. So, like, I'm sure they went into this knowing that there was a good chance that they would have to make some adjustments coming out of this season. And doing like you said, Micah, taking into consideration that like, hey, maybe we only put the limit on first team and second and third team are up for grabs. Like maybe you like lower the limit to you need to play 50 games or whatever or something like that to make it more obtainable. But I also think through this whole situation, there's just a lot of people putting the blame on this in the wrong spot. Like even Tyrese Halliburton, his quote was saying like, oh, well, the owners are going to do what makes them happy and makes them the most money. And yes, obviously, to a degree, this rule was put in place so the owners could make more money because they know if stars play, they make more. But at the same time, I think the blame needs to go on those guys you were mentioning, Micah, the Kawhis, the Paul Georges, the LeBrons,
Yeah.
the guys that have completely changed the culture of the NBA to not be about playing every single game and not going out there and giving 100% every single time you have a game come up, but are just picking and choosing what games they play and have kind of taken a mindset of, I got paid. So, like, what do I have to give now? And I know there's just been this big move to like empower players and put them in better positions to make money and all that sort of stuff. But like at the same time, owners aren't shelling out all this money just for the heck of it. Like they're expecting a return on investment, and a lot of them are trying to win. And this whole mindset of just, I'll play sometimes or I'll play when I want to is complete BS. So I think this season, Halliburton is kind of a casualty of those guys' mindset, unfortunately for him. So yeah, I think ultimately this will be good for the game and help prevent just sitting out for the heck of it. But there'll have to be some adjustments.
Yes.
I'll be honest. The last 15 seconds you cut out in my microphone, so I didn't hear any of your last point. But I liked everything you were going up until that point. I agree.
Cool. Love it.
And I will say, like, real quick, like, it is kind of a double-edged sword because as much as I complain for how much time people like LeBron misses, like, LeBron playing right now is absurd. The level he is playing at his age is unlike anything we've seen. And it's because of how much time he takes off and how much he cares for his health. It sucks for the fan, but at the same time, we're getting more years out of it. So, like, I think it's a lot more intricate. Like, everything comes with so many different caveats that there's no easy way to say, how do we make this right? But as a fan, it is still so obnoxious.
Yeah. Well, I think too, like arguments that I've seen a lot of people make is like, if you only showed up for work 80% of the time, you'd be fired. Like,
True.
And like if you showed up for work 80% of the time, the other 20% is like, I'm in the hospital, I'm dying. Okay, obviously fine. But if it's you show up for 80% of the work and 15% of the time you don't show up is I just didn't feel like it today. That's not a reasonable excuse. So like just from a fan's perspective, I get, yes, it keeps you in shape. It allows you to like, play deeper into the postseason and everything. But at the same time, it's like you are getting paid millions of dollars to do this. Show up and play.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's a double-edged sword. It's hard to balance everything. But I'm sure like we said, Adam Silver knows what he's doing. He'll figure it out. I'm sure after this year they'll probably meet with the Players Association and have the discussion about where to go from here. Well, sticking with the NBA, NBA All-Star rosters are officially solidified. I think not really any major surprises between the two teams. Oh, all right. Not really any major surprises between the two teams. We had picked a large majority of these guys to make the games. But just curious from the two of you, who do you think got who do you think were the biggest snubs from each conference? And I'll also add it's not on the screen here, but obviously Trey Young and who was the other one? Scotty Barnes are in replacing Joel Embiid and Julius Randle. So if you want to consider them as snubs because they weren't initially put in, you can if you'd like, but
Honestly, my biggest snub is not over anyone who was officially picked. It was
Honestly.
about the replacement. It was about Scotty Barnes. I feel like there's other people that should have gotten it over Scotty. Most I feel like I didn't even talk about him at all when we were picking ours, and I don't know why I'm leaning hard on it now, but I feel like DeMar DeRozan deserves it more than Scotty. Like his stats are better, the Bulls are better, and with how much time Levine has missed, the Bulls are in the play-in tournament because of DeMar DeRozan, and he is playing very good for this state of his career. And I mean, like, I really like Scotty Barnes. He's a fun young player. I don't think he's an all-star by any means. You could also put in Derek White or Porzingis or a lot of other people that I would put in.
Yeah, I think, and maybe not above all these people that you already mentioned, but like I think I put in Franz Wagner above Scotty
Ooh.
Barnes as well. Franz has been much more consistent and is honestly putting out roughly the same output as Scotty is, but like better on a night-to-night basis, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in the West for me, I feel like Alperen Şengün and Domantas Sabonis, I feel like they both got snubbed a little bit. The tough thing for me is that with just how stacked the West is, it's just a matter of like who would I kick out to put him in? I do think I think I would put Şengün in over Cat. I think Şengün has just meant more to the Rockets and has just had bigger performances than this year than Cat does or than Cat has had. But
Yeah. I think that's the biggest point that upsets me when people talk snubs is not considering who you have to take out to put the snubs in. And I mean, like I said in our last episode when we were making these picks, I was debating a lot of those names, Sengun and Fox and Sabonis. And I ended up just going with Cat because of the record. I couldn't fully tell anything apart from the rest of them. And so I purely based it off of Timberwolves being the best in the West. But yeah, if you want to call any of those people snubs and replace it with Cat, I'm not upset at all.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It breaks down to, I think, the both conferences. I don't think I'm upset with how it turned out.
No,
and when I think of snub, I think like, why the hell did this guy get in over this guy? And I don't feel that about anybody. I think like one of the most telling notes to me is when we are talking about like potentially considered snubs, the East has like 2 guys, the West has like 6.
Yeah.
And you just look at the talent disparity in the league. Like the West has so many guys from like we were saying Fox to Sabonis to Gobert even, who we didn't even mention yet. James Harden, who I personally had in mind, and I don't mind him sitting out of it. Jamal Murray, not a snub, but like an all-star caliber player who shouldn't be in the game. You have Alperen Şengün, I haven't mentioned yet. So many guys in the West who just deserve these honors and won't be given them. And I almost like it almost motivates me. I want to almost see like the next 6 up should be invited to some kind of event at All-Star Weekend or something.
Yeah.
Like get them in the skills challenge, get them in the 3-point contest or the dunk contest. Just give them an honor because they're really damn good.
and you're just mentioning how many like snubs each conference has. But if you just look at like how many guys in the West would you put over Scotty Barnes? You would start getting into
All
Wemby
of those
and
names.
Chet Holmgren. And like there's probably a smooth
Matt Wemby.
maybe
Yeah.
yeah, that's
And
what I said.
Chet,
Like,
yeah.
there's probably at least 15 guys in the West that didn't make the All-Star game that you'd put in over Scotty Barnes.
And to be fair, Scotty Barnes was a replacement.
but
still, yeah.
like all these guys
disparity is
like
still in point.
Wemby, Chet, like yes, they were voted on for All-Stars, but let's be honest, they were never serious contenders to make the All-Star team. And if one of these guys were to get hurt, like Wemby's probably like the 8th or 9th guy that would get called right now. If Wemby was in the East, he would be in over Scotty Barnes.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't consider Wemby when making my picks. If he was in the East, him and Chet, I would have been like, oh
yeah,
gosh.
100%.
Now this is actually kind of difficult
Yeah.
because the East was really easy to pick.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the number of first-time All-Stars in the East versus the West, and you immediately see a disparity. Like the West is filled with legends who have been here again and again, and some of them are like slightly newer, like Luka and Shai, but even still, they're not like young, early NBA players. They are all just incredibly talented, and honestly, I like most of these guys have a Hall of Fame trajectory.
Yeah.
I also would just like to call out how stupid voting for captains is. The fact that LeBron James is a captain is abysmal. Like
Yeah.
it's so frustrating. Like I'm glad at least this year captains really don't mean anything like other than just they're the captain of their conference. It's not like they're picking the teams. But God, if they were doing the pick thing again, I would be so frustrated that it was Giannis and LeBron again. Giannis, I would understand. He's been good enough. Sure, make him captain. But LeBron?
Yeah. All 4 starters in the West have been having a better season than LeBron. And LeBron has had a great season. He's playing really, really good. But compared to Jokic and Durant and Shai and Luka, any 4 of them would have been better captains.
Gosh, and
I'm so
like,
sad too. We were like 500,000 votes away from getting Jokic as captain, which is the closest we've ever been. And it's tough to overcome LeBron. But I mean, to finish second in fan voting was huge. So
Also, again, like we said, Zaza Pachulia was almost
yeah.
an
he
all-star.
wasn't almost captain though.
No, but all that to say, fans are stupid.
They are.
Jokic is recognized by the people who care.
Yes.
I feel like because currently captains are entirely determined by fan vote, and I almost wonder if the NBA should consider changing that because
I don't feel like they will. It doesn't matter. There's way more important things.
It's
true.
It's one of those things. It's a position that's completely meaningless. Like no one, when LeBron gets to the end of his career, it's not like he's going to be able to go up to Jordan and go, I had more All-Star captains 8 times.
This is why I'm the GOAT and not MJ.
Well, it is now time for at least my favorite segment of the pod, trivia. And this week it is Jonathan and Micah going up against each other. Skip that stuff.
And
And
Evan, remember when we were tied and it was like really close and really fun? That was a good time. I feel like it was 3-3.
It was 3-3. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I beat Evan once for you.
Way to go, buddy.
Yeah.
You did. For this week, we're going who knows their favorite NBA team best. So you guys are going head to head. There will be 3 different
I forgot to
segments.
study.
Me too. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, there you go.
I was going to cheat and study.
There will be 3 different sections to this trivia one. The first one will be statistical leaders in your team history. For those ones, I'll just put up a stat on the screen. I'll give you guys 15 seconds each to just think about who it is. You'll just both tell me who's the leader respectively for the Blazers, who's the leader for the Nuggets. You get 1 point for getting those questions right. For team history, these are multiple choice questions. I will give you guys 25 seconds on those. Again, they're multiple choice, so you'll get different answers. We'll take turns going back and forth. Obviously, there's no point in Micah answering the Nuggets question and Jonathan answering the Blazers questions. Those ones will be worth 3 points each. And in the mystery round, we'll get into the details of that when we get to that point. That one is worth 5 points. So there's plenty of chance here for you guys to catch up if you start to fall behind. So don't get too concerned. But we will start out with statistical leaders. I will get my stopwatch ready. Like I said, 15 seconds. Just think about it. Again, I'm not giving you guys any potential names here. You gotta just come up with them off the top of your head. But first one up, who is your franchise leader in points scored? Time starts now. And if you both have it, just thumbs up. Okay, cool. Micah.
Yeah, it's Dame Lillard.
Okay, yep.
I was at his first game back in Portland after he did that. It was the same day my dog died.
Oh,
Alex English.
that is correct. All right, you both got 1 point each. Way to go. And
Mine was
yes,
harder.
there they are. All right, next one up. Who's your leader in total rebounds?
Mine was
All right.
easier. He's played long.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. Did he actually play enough? I got
right.
my guess.
Jonathan,
Mutombo.
that is incorrect. Micah,
Is it Walton?
that is also incorrect.
Is it Aldridge? That was going to be my
It's
next one.
LaMarcus Aldridge and Nikola
Dang
Jokic.
It was Jokic.
Oh,
All right.
knew I should
That must have been recent.
Yeah, that's a pretty recent thing. All right. Now over to assist leader.
This was the one I'm scared.
Same.
I'm going to speak verbally since it doesn't matter. Alex English played a long time. He was a okay distributor. Jokic has played enough time and he's an excellent distributor. You have Fat Lever who didn't play long enough but was good enough. You have David Thompson who played long enough but was primarily a scorer. You have Melo who was not a distributor.
All right.
Don't know.
Micah, who you got?
I'm just gonna go with time spent on the team. Is it Dame?
It is not, unfortunately.
All right.
I'm between Jokic and English, I think. I feel like I would have heard about it, but I'm gonna go for Jokic.
It is Nikola Jokic. And for the Blazers, Terry Porter.
I thought that was the other name. Gosh dang it. Both times.
All right. So Jonathan now up 2-1 going into the next one. Franchise leader in steals.
Oh, that's interesting. Give him enough time, it'll be Thibault. Oh,
This one's also really hard.
yeah.
Nuggets don't have a lot of all-star defenders, so no one really stands out. I mean, Jokic averages almost one per game.
All right. I'll give you guys another 5 because you both seem stumped.
Oh, I'm very.
All right. Jonathan, who are you going with?
Alex English.
That is incorrect. Micah, who you got?
Drexler.
It is Drexler. And
Let's go.
and for the Nuggets, Jonathan, it's Fat Lever.
It is. Okay. He's
All
probably
right.
second for me, but
All right. Now over to the franchise leader, and I'm guessing you can probably guess what's next. Blocks.
I'm ready.
Sorry, Micah. This one was definitely in Jonathan's favor.
Yeah.
I just picked the most basic stats.
That's fair. All right.
All right, Jonathan, let me hear it.
Not today. The Kimbe Matumbo.
That is actually no, that's right. All right, Micah, who are you gonna hit me with?
Uh, I'll try Aldridge.
Michael Thompson.
You're never getting that.
Do you want to take a guess as to who is second though?
If it's not him, maybe Walton. I don't
That's what I
know.
was thinking.
Robin Lopez.
No way.
Yeah.
Let's go, Rolo. Oh, that makes me so happy.
All right.
Where's Chris
well,
Kaman on the list?
not sure I saw him.
All right.
All right. This is now the last statistical category. Statistical category. Jonathan is up 3-2. Who
Is it
is your
another one?
franchise leader in games played?
Ooh.
This is tricky because not only who played a long time, but who didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan's got his. Micah, I'll give you another 5.
I'm
Okay.
ready.
Micah, hit me with it.
I'm thinking because Dame just recently became point scorer and he was averaging more. He passed Drexler, so I'm going to guess him.
It is Clyde Drexler. Good job. All right, Jonathan.
It's got to be one of the banners that we have in the rafter, one of the jerseys. And I don't think I know that Fat played for multiple teams. Tumbo played for multiple teams. He's almost tempting. And then most of our other legends are guards who had shorter careers. So I'm going to go with English.
It is Alex English. Hold on. All right. So we come out of this category 4-3. Like I said, though, these next questions were 3 points each. So definitely not insurmountable by any means, but good job overall. I think that was probably about how many I thought you'd each get. The Michael Thompson on the blocks one was a tough one, Mike.
Yeah, it's a deep pull.
Trust me, when I saw that, there was a lot of consideration. I was like, should I even do blocks? Because that's just mean.
No, it's fair. I feel like I should have gotten Aldridge and Porter. I was close on both of
Yeah.
them.
All right. So we're now going over to team history multiple choice. And we are going, so this will be Nuggets first, followed by Blazers. Let me see. I believe there is 5 for each of you. So 15 points available here. So Jonathan, we'll start with you. I'll read the question. You'll obviously see the options for you on the screen. Here we go. In 1967, a member of the AFL's Denver Broncos signed with the then Denver Rockets, or the now Nuggets, and became the first athlete to play professional football and basketball in the same year. What was the name of that player?
Interesting.
And like I said, I'll give you 35 seconds. If you want to send the answer before that, go forth. But I will cap you at 35.
If it's Bowen, I don't know that, and that's terrible. I feel like that was slightly before Thompson's time. I'm going to go Lonnie Wright.
It is Lonnie
It's
Wright.
Lonnie.
Well done. He sounds like a guy who would play football and basketball in the same year.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so that's 3 points to Jonathan. There you go. Yes, it was Lonnie Wright. Well done. All right, Micah, over to you. Rasheed Wallace of the Portland Jailblazers era holds the record for most technical fouls in a single season. How many techs did he have?
Oh, he had a whole lot. None that quite beat just staring at a ref and getting ejected. I don't feel like it's possible to get that high. And I feel like you just threw it in there because it's nice.
There's usually one joke answer per question. So.
Yeah. Single season. I feel like I'm going too low, but I'm gonna guess 34.
41.
Yeah.
All right.
Ugh.
Jonathan with a pretty solid lead now. But back to him. Jonathan, let's see if you can add to your total. The highest scoring regular season game in NBA history occurred on December 13th, 1983, in a triple overtime game featuring the Denver Nuggets with a combined score of 370 points. Who were the Nuggets playing?
Oh,
The Lakers, the Pistons, the Magic, or the
I
Pacers?
should know this one. It's
Did you
not the
watch
Lakers
it?
or Magic. Because for a while, I remember for a while, the Broncos and the Nuggets both had the highest scoring games ever in their own league. Um, I'm going Pistons.
It is the Detroit
Gosh, dang
Pistons. All right. Jonathan up 10-3, but now back to Micah. Which member of the Portland Trailblazers broadcasting team is the only broadcaster to ever be ejected from an NBA game?
Interesting.
Amazing.
Mike Rice.
Calabro's way too even keeled. I really hope it's Shonley. That would be so cool. I could easily see Mike Rice doing it. To be honest, I don't know who Ann Schatz is.
Maybe it's the joke answer.
I feel like Mike Rice makes more sense, but I want it to be Shonley so bad. I'll go with Mike Rice.
It is Mike Rice. Well done.
Let's go.
All right. 10-6. Jonathan, back to you. In 1994, the Denver Nuggets became the first 8 seed to upset a 1 seed in playoff history. What team did they beat?
I do know this one. Seattle Supersonics.
That is correct.
It was also a comeback. It was a 5-game series at the time, and the Nuggets started 0-2 and wound up winning the next 3. They started in an 0-3 hole to the Jazz in the next series and lost in 7 games.
Nice. All right, Micah, this question is going to just hurt the soul a little bit, but as Blazers fans, we're used to it. In the 1986 draft, the Portland Trailblazers made 9 selections. 6 of them never played a minute in the NBA, and 2 of them would not play in the NBA for at least 3 years. Who was the only player drafted who played in 1986?
How many rounds were in this draft?
7.
Okay, that's
that's
better, but
fantastic. Wow. Oh, goodness. I mean,
And in case you
86.
want pronunciations, it's Panagiotis Falucius, Walter Berry, Udon Smith, and Drazen Petrovic.
thanks.
Thank you.
For our listeners who can't read European.
I would have gotten 3 of those wrong.
Yeah. Oh, man. I mean, that was. Did Droshin?
It is not Drazen. It is Walter Berry, unfortunately. Petrovic was one of the guys who would come play for the Blazers after 3 years.
Okay.
That was the draft that him and Sabonis were both drafted from behind the Iron Curtain and just couldn't get over to the U.S. because they were in the USSR.
Oh, right. Yeah. Forgot about that whole thing.
All right, Jonathan, back to you. In the 1997-98 season, the Nuggets posted their lowest win total in franchise history at how many wins?
It was bad. I think it's more than 9 because I think that was the Bobcats total. I am certain it was in the 10 to 19 range. How many games were played back then?
All right. Time is up. Send an answer, sir.
17.
It was 11.
Yes.
No. It sounded too good.
9 was the
That could get
Bobcats,
worse.
right?
Yeah, 9 was the Bobcats, yes.
Yeah.
And to answer your question, Jonathan, they played 82 games.
Ah,
Yeah. All right, Micah, back to you to try and reel this thing in a little bit more.
Yeah.
In 1972, the Trailblazers featured the first player in the NBA to make the switch from Converse to Nike with the debut of the Nike Blazer. What player made the switch?
1972. What are you doing? Petrie?
It is Jeff Petrie. Love to see it.
Whew.
All right. Jonathan, back to you.
what's the current score and how many questions left?
You each have one question left in this category. You sit at 13, Micah sits at 9. And the last one is worth 5 points. So as the score currently sits, the last section would be for the game, not this question, but the last section.
Yeah.
All right, Jonathan. The Denver Nuggets were the last of the 4 surviving ABA teams to win the NBA Finals. What team was second to last? The New York Nets, the Indiana Pacers, the San Antonio Spurs, or the Philadelphia 76ers?
I feel like Micah knows this one. um, Spurs ever win before Pop? I'm going to go for Spurs.
It is the Spurs. All right. Micah, you got to get this one to stay competitive for the last section.
Yeah.
All right. In 1977, the Trailblazers won their first and to this point only NBA championship. Which team did they defeat to claim the title? The Boston Celtics, the Detroit Pistons, the Philadelphia 76ers, or the Washington Bullets?
I should really know this. I know Bill Walton was the MVP. Oh man. Okay. So that would have been for that.
Genuinely, for like these historic ones, it's harder than it should be. Like, I only know the answer for the Broncos because it's Evan's favorite team that we beat.
Yeah, this was 21 years before I was born.
I know. Like, it's tough.
I don't feel like it would have been the Bullets. For some reason, Celtics just feels wrong. Pistons feels too early. But I don't like Sixers either. So that rules out all of them. I'll go with the Celtics.
The 76ers.
DJs.
All right. But still, this last section.
Yeah, I still want the last
Yeah.
one.
The last
sure.
section is a fun one. And this can be for bragging rights. So I need you each to take out your phones to either your notes app or text message.
Right.
All right, good. Obviously, no Googling, so you can look over and keep each other honest because obviously you're answering different things. Cool. All right. So,
Oh, we're answering different things.
no, like you're answering for the Blazers, he's answering for the Nuggets.
Okay.
So, like, it's not like you can copy. For this category, I will be providing you with a prompt for which you will both jot down as many player names as you can in 60 seconds. Some clarifying rules. Incorrect answers don't count against you. So write down any name that you feel matches the prompt. I will accept if you just write down the player's last name so you can save some time on typing it out. Spelling doesn't matter as long as I can tell who the hell you're talking about. So if you, yes, Mike.
Before you give the prompt, I'm just gonna say now I'm gonna be pissed if it's retired jerseys because the NBA Blazers have retired so many stupid jerseys that should not be retired.
That's
But you've retired more than us.
That's the beautiful part about this prompt, boys. So here we go. Get ready. The Denver Nuggets and the Portland Trailblazers have both had 16 players who have at some point made an all-star team. In 60 seconds, name as many players in your franchise history who have made an all-star game. Go.
I'm assuming while they were Blazers.
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
30 seconds.
Oh.
10.
I don't like the pressure.
3, 2, 1. Phones down. All right.
I probably have some wrong answers in here, but
And just to make sure that there's no buffoonery going on, I guess Jonathan just texted them to me. But Micah, do you want to read out Jonathan's list for me?
Oh, sure. He's got Jokic, English, Thompson, Mutombo, Lever, Billups, Iverson, Anthony, Billups, Iverson, Camby, Nene, Gallinari, and Fareed.
Okay. So the only correct ones from that list, Jonathan, you got, of course, Nikola Jokic, Chauncey Billups, Carmelo Anthony, Allen Iverson, Dikembe Mutombo, Fat Lever, Alex English, and David Thompson.
total of what?
Huh? For a total
many
of 1,
people?
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 correct. So you got half of your players. The ones that you
Cool.
missed. Antonio McDyess,
Oh yeah, he's
Calvin-
retired. He's like the weird one.
Calvin Nat, Kiki Vandeweghe,
Oh
George McGinnis,
yeah,
Bobby
Love his beard.
Jones, Bobby Jones, and Dan Issel.
Issel. I forgot about him this whole game. He would have been a red herring for assists.
All right, and Jonathan, can you read Micah's list to me, please, and maybe go a little bit slower than what Micah read.
Damian Lillard,
Yes.
LaMarcus Aldridge, Bill Walton, Clyde Drexler, Brandon Roy, something Porter, Terry Porter, and something Petrie. Who's the something?
Jeff?
Jeff Petrie, yeah.
Petrie. Yeah.
All right. So Jonathan had 8, Micah had 7. So the ones, Micah, that you didn't grab, you had Rasheed Wallace,
Oh, duh.
you had Kevin Duckworth,
Okay, yeah.
Jim Paxson,
Yeah.
Kermit Washington, Maurice Lucas,
Oh.
Lionel Hollins, and Sidney Wicks.
All right. But
Good
I didn't
job.
get any wrong.
Give me some.
Micah knew what he was after.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Jonathan, on a
Thanks.
victory.
Thanks for running it. It was fun.
Yeah, this is a good one.
It was, like I said, trying to balance the difficulty of questions between the two of you was quite the endeavor, but
Definitely.
That felt fair.
okay,
I'm not mad
cool.
at it.
Yeah. That was my hope, is that the loser wouldn't come away feeling completely slighted, like I got cheated.
If anything, I cheated myself.
Well, now we will, of course, cap things off with Sportsbook Showdown. Have a sneaking suspicion we're going to see some Super Bowl bets on here. So,
Exclusively for me.
yeah. Micah, we'll start with your first one, and have you to put them on the slide deck so you can just read off the doc or what you have written down, Micah.
All right, let me pull up the dot. For my first bet, I have on Tuesday, February 6th, slate of NBA games. I've got the Magic, Timberwolves, Thunder, and Mavs all winning money line. That's plus 767, and I put 2 units on it.
I like it. Jonathan, over to you.
Yeah, so I am going to bet on something that happened in the NFC Championship, and which I think is going to be a strong element of the game plan for the Super Bowl. And that is Christian McCaffrey to have at least 80 receiving yards. This is
Ooh.
an alternate spread, so it's plus 850. And it feels much, much better than that. 2 units down. So
I like it. Well, I didn't want to just do a whole bunch of Super Bowl bets, so I had to reach into the bag. So I'm doing a Premier League soccer bet. Let's go. I'm taking Manchester City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Arsenal money line parlay for this upcoming weekend at plus 344, all going up against garbage tier teams in the Premier League. So let's go, boys.
My second bet is a Super Bowl parlay with the 49ers winning by a margin of 1-6, Christian McCaffrey getting 2 or more touchdowns, and for the total score being over 47.5.
I like it.
yeah.
And that is plus 1,400. I put 2 units on.
Nice. For me, the second bet of the game is also for the Super Bowl. I'm going with basically what I want to happen, which is a very defensive performance in which the 49ers come out on top in an exciting nail biter. So translated, it's 49ers money line, but parlay that with Chiefs minus 2.5 to make it a close win. And then under 49.5, that's plus 2,500, 2 units. It's a little scary. I don't like it as much as the first.
All right. My second one, I'm also betting on tonight's slate of NBA games. I should probably check to see how those things are going, but I'm taking Indiana Pacers -8, Dallas Mavericks -3.5, Grizzlies plus 14.5, Timberwolves -5.5, Thunder -3.5, and Bucks plus 3.5. That comes out to plus 4,853, putting 2 units on it.
All right. Lastly, I have my favorite Super Bowl bet. I've placed it every year since I started betting.
It's paid well.
It paid off for me last year, which makes me net positive. And that's for there to be a doink in the Super Bowl. So any extra point or field goal hitting the upright.
Does it have to miss or can it make it?
Either way, just has to hit the upright. It's the most exciting thing to bet on because it makes every single kick fun. So that's plus 800. I put my last unit on it.
All right. For my last bet, I'm going with something that is a FanDuel special. When you're not affiliated, use anyone that you want. But they have something called the Triple Crown, which is you pick the top passer, receiver, and rusher. And I went with a big sleeper for top receiver, kind of backing up what I said earlier, in Christian McCaffrey. I think their game plan will be largely get him the ball in screen plays and short passes more than on handoffs. And I think that the Chiefs' recipe for success is to get Isaiah Pacheco working on the ground. So I have Patrick Mahomes as leading passer, CMC leading receiver, Isaiah Pacheco as leading rusher. That's plus 8,000, and I'm putting my last unit down.
Hi, Coda.
Coda's making
Hi.
an appearance.
Oh, I love her so much.
All right, for my final bet, here's finally my Super Bowl parlay. I'm going a little bit wild with this one. Going Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown scorer, feels obvious. Jerick McKinnon, anytime touchdown scorer. My mindset there is that last year he slid down at the end of the game to be a good teammate, and so I think Chiefs will give him an opportunity to score one. Brock Purdy over 213.5 passing yards. Mahomes over 227.5 passing yards. Christian McCaffrey over 60 plus rushing yards, and Isaiah Pacheco over plus 40 plus rushing yards, and then game total under 44.5. Taking that at plus 12,000 and putting a unit on it.
Feels about right.
Yep.
I'm waiting for you to be like, that's plus 300.
I was waiting for the like 300,000 and I put it down. I'm hoping to win $1 million.
Man, I will say real quick, I was going through DraftKings and their betting lines, and they had a whole section that was for the Swifties that were just a bunch of lines based off of her songs, titles, and then bets to make it applicable. The one that I found absolutely hilarious was Karma, which is Travis Kelce getting 0 reception and the Niners to win.
I love it. All right. Well, that'll do it for this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. And Jonathan, take us away.
There will be no Super Bowl.
That is dark.
Thanks, Swifties. All right. Good night, y'all.